Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. But then again, you know that, don't you? Because that's why you've tuned in on this cold Sunday morning. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Richard, who lives near me in Rotherham. How are you doing, Richard? You all right, mate?
Morning, Russ. Yeah, I'm well, mate. It's good to see you all looking well as well.
Thank you very much. Very cold this morning, isn't it, Richard? Have you been out?
Not yet, mate. Not yet. It's gonna take some getting me out today. There might have to be some food involved to get me out.
I took Rocky out this morning over Cook Hill Golf Club, and he wasn't keen. He weren't keen. I know. I was saying, "Come on." He looked outside and he shot back in the house. I said, "Come on, we're going out for a walk." Anyway, I wish I'd put my big coat on and my hat that covers my ears, because after about 15 minutes, I thought, "Ooh!" And I kept, you know what I kept thinking about? Whenever I speak to my dad about cold weather, my dad always says to me, "You weren't born when I was out pitting the winter of '63. Now, the winter of '63 is the coldest one on record, isn't it? But my dad was born in '47, so that was supposed to have been cold as well, wasn't it? I don't know if you know this.
No, I didn't know.
But obviously you weren't born because you're my age. But people who were a bit older than me, they might remember the winter of '63, or if there's anybody older, the winter of '47. So leave a comment. But today's been one of the coldest days of the year, I think. You? Oh, you haven't been out, have you?
Not yet, mate. No, it was cold last night, though. All right, we might come to this, but I was out in Sheffield last night. It was pretty cold then, but it didn't stop me going for a meal. So I'm surprised that some boxing was stopped, but we'll get on to that maybe. I'm not sure.
We'll get on to that in a bit. Right. Okay. Let's start with, before we get to Dennis's the adventures of Dennis, or AKA Ron Lyle. We'll start with Anthony Joshua. He's done an interview in Dubai last night. Well, basically, he's saying that his team didn't tell him about step aside money, but then towards the end of the interview, he's saying if it makes business sense, he's going to step aside. What do you think is going on with him, with his trainers and stuff like that?
I've seen that interview, Russ, and you know I don't knock AJ. I've got a lot of time for him because I think that he, we've got a slight difference of opinion on him a little bit, but as far as I'm concerned, he's always fought who's in front of him. He don't moan when he loses, and it is what it is. But he sent more confused than Scooby-Doo last night. I watched it, and as a boxing fan, what you want him to say, when Coogan said that to him, you want him to say, "Not interested, I've got a contract to fight, a rematch with Usyk. That's what's happening. Move on, next question. Not interested in anything else, I'm having my belts back." You don't expect him to say, "Yeah, I'll fight anybody. That's what I'm about. I'm a throwback fighter. I just want respect." And then in the next 2 minutes, he says, he contradicts himself and says, "Well, I also want to be known for a smart businessman," well, being a smart businessman, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But then saying, "Yeah, if it makes sense, we'll have a look at step aside money because it'd be the right thing to do." I don't get that. Now, I think he's a confused bloke at the minute. He's shopping around for trainers, but he's not making any changes. He's not coming out and saying, "Right, I'm done with you now. I'm going with this new guy. I'm going in this direction. I need to change something drastically. I need to go back to how I used to be. I need to bring somebody in." Like Tyson Fury does. Tyson Fury wants to do something different, and he makes a change, doesn't he? He doesn't hang about either. Whether they're friends, family, anybody, he's ruthless, isn't he? Where Joshua seems to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He just seems confused to me. And that sort of carried over to that interview. From what I could see, he just doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. What do you think?
Well, my opinion on him. I know for a fact that he's very, very, very money orientated. Very. I'm not going to say anybody who's people who told me, but I know he's very motivated by money and to get as much money in as he can before his career ends. Everybody knows he's got 32 sponsors. He's gone out there to Dubai. They put him on a private jet to take him out there, and they put him in a big. What's that hotel called that looks like a sail?
Oh yeah, it's Burj Khalifa, something like that.
I put him in there. They gave him a butler and all sorts. So he's got a good life. He's got a good life over there.
Yeah.
Right. That's why he's over there all the time. But he does look confused. But personally, I think he's a bit insecure, really. I don't think anybody around him is telling him what they should be telling him. That's my opinion. From what I've heard, like, you know.
Do you think Russ? I mean, I agree with you, and he said something about his management yesterday in the same interview. And he said about his something about property and the rules of what they apply. His brother and his cousin apply within their property business. You know, time, quality, and cost. And I just thought to myself, I know he's got this 25/8 management company going, but I thought, are these guys qualified to be advising him? Are they business managers? Has he made his money just on his boxing ability, his clean cut image, what he looks like? That's where all his money's come from, isn't it? I don't think they've, you know, bought a load of property and developed it and doubled what they paid for it in 3 years and moves like that. All his revenue is coming from his boxing and what he looks like, isn't it, at the end of the day? So are those guys actually qualified to advise him? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they've all got masters in business administration and they've all got 20 years experience in sports management. But I don't get that impression when I hear him talk.
Listen, it's the same carry on as what I used to have arguments with Dennis over. I used to say this to Dennis, right? Dennis, have you got people who are experts in their field in these companies that you own? So no, we haven't. That's where you've got problems down the line. Joshua's brother, well, you just give him a job as a brother. He wasn't no expert property guy before Joshua at the big time. He's surrounded himself by his mates because you feel comfortable like that. And I know other businessmen that do that. You're a businessman, Richard. Do you have your mate, me, in charge of what you do in France with cars coming through line when what are the Renaults?
All different clients.
Yeah. These cars going down these lines that you're in charge of. I've got no expertise in that. Do you give me a job X amount a year working there, or do you take somebody who's an expert at it? You'll take the expert, won't you? Because you're pretty straight John Bull, aren't you? And your reputation's online. Joshua probably feels, and a lot of people, and this can sound racist, but I don't care. A lot of people in the industry who are black tend to throw the money away. Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Tommy Hearns. I can go on forever. People who feel that they have to give to people now. Are these people feeding off them? Are they pouncing? Because every time I see Joshua, he looks like he's got some dossers sat next to him. Dossers. Get people who know what they're on with around you. Who's advising him? He should be listening to McCracken. He's been around the game all his life. McCracken looks to me like he's just drafted him when they need to start a camp, doesn't he? You don't see McCracken driving around Dubai with him, do you, in a Range Rover, do you? Right. So what is it? Is it a culture thing? Do these people feel like they have to have leeches around them? Are they insecure? I don't know. I don't know how that come out, but I'm just going to speak from the heart. I've got no filter me, but why do these people have to have leeches around them? Because whatever advice he's getting, he's not taking it. Look, for example, let's look at his resume. He's not fought Tyson Fury. He's not fought Wilder. He didn't fight Ortiz when they were in St. Sable. He's not fought Tony Yoka. He don't mention him. Hughie Fury, in my opinion, his style's wrong for him. Right? If Hughie has a tear up with him, he'll come a cropper because he'd knock an house down Joshua, Peter Fury once told me. But style-wise, Hughie could frustrate him and drown him late on. So these people who are great fighters in this era, Joshua's not fought, but he's fought Vladimir, who were in his 42nd year, fought Fat Andy Ruiz and come a cropper. He was took kicking and screaming to the ring to fight Usyk. You know that, and I know that. They had step aside. Shane McGuigan came out and said they've had step aside for a period of time, and Usyk weren't prepared to take more step aside. So will he step aside on the rematch? Yeah, he will, because they're now planting the seeds now on his good old buddy Coogan, who he didn't want to know for about 9 months, did he, last year? Didn't want to know him. So I think, personally, he's filling his nappy. I don't know, what do the fans think? Leave a comment. That's just what I think.
Yeah, you can make a good argument for all that you've said regarding sort of, you know, who he wants to fight and who he don't want to fight. There's also an argument, I think, that, you know, it wouldn't hurt him, even though as a boxing fan, I want him to come out and say, you know, blow that step aside money. I've got a contract, I'm executing it, we're fighting on this day, that's it, I'm having my belts back. That's what we want to hear. But there also is a case for him to get some confidence back, isn't there? And take some step aside money. And knock somebody out.
Yeah. So there could be that, but does that mean they're going to feed him a stiff?
They need to feed him somebody credible.
Well, how's Eddie Hearn going to spin this now? Because a few weeks ago they were saying, no, there's no step aside. Anthony Joshua's not that kind of man. He's a warrior. He's a warrior. But when there's readies on the table not to fight, these warriors, they forget about what they've said. Like, I only want to fight in the UK, he said after he beat Povetkin, didn't he? Because I love you fans. As soon as he got 35 million offer to fight Ruiz, he were gone like a shot. 70 million for rematch, gone to Saudi. They don't care for fans, they care for that. And you heard what he said, didn't you? I don't want to end up like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, Tommy Hearns, all them kind of people, whose friends and family leached off him. Well, he just said his brother's dealing with all his property and stuff like that. Look, we know what people are like around money, especially family. The leechers, light-fingered. Look, humans are creatures of habit. Yeah, they adapt to that, but they're still creatures of habit. If there's a chance to get a few quid out of the job, they will. But I mean, that other guy on social media the other day, one of Joshua's mates, him with ponytail, that Dosser with ponytail, aka Skins. He's some big property guy in Watford now. On the strength for what? For doing what? For doing what? For being Joshua's mate. Look, everybody around him is not going to tell him straight. If he were one of Dennis's fighters and I was still with Dennis, I'd say to him, look, mate, I think you should just fight like you've been fighting. Why do you want to be Pernell Whitaker with all these trainers? And you've got this far on the straight 1-2 and overpowering people, and having a tear up.
Yeah.
So why does he want to all of a sudden want to be Ray Leonard?
Well, I think again I've got a slightly different opinion of it. I think the problem is, I think you said something a couple of videos ago when you were saying, you know, he's not a technical boxer. I think that if you take Fury and Usyk out of that mix, who is the best technical boxer after those two? Oh, maybe Ewing. All right, good answer. All right, after Ewing, who else?
Maybe Tony Yoka, but he's a bit mechanical, isn't he?
Yeah. So let's put at least Joshua as number 4. He is an Olympic champion. He has been with McCracken. I think the problem is with Joshua is that, unfortunately for him, mate, he was just so far behind Usyk. So if you take those 3 guys out, and I'll give you Yui, because I think Yui is up there. But if you take those 3 guys out, it's not bad being the 4th best technical heavyweight in the world.
No,
but is he gonna beat those 2 or 3 guys fighting that way? No, he's not. The only chance he's got is to steam in and land a few punches, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember when Carl Froch fought Bute and they said Bute was too technical? So I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm just going to steam in. He said, I don't want to let him get into a rhythm. He's a southpaw. And what did he do? He just flew at him, didn't he? It was all or nothing for Carl that night. And he just got stuck into it, because it's like when you fight Carl Zaghi. Byron Mitchell was the one who nearly executed the perfect game plan to knock. You've just got to have a tear up with Carl Zaghi. You can't let him get into a rhythm. Otherwise, if you're not fighting southpaws all the time, he'll just run you ragged because he can do rounds, can't he? And take a shot. Yeah. But he needs to just steam straight into Usyk. And if he loses, we can all get behind him and say, you know what, he had a go, and look what he's done in his career. And he'll come again, they'll pick him up a regular belt. There's always a Dylan White fight. He'll always get fights, but his following will dwindle. but he'll still be able to milk another 10 fights out of that job easily. But don't be telling us you're this roadman and you're this and that and going and interviewing trainers and all that, and then talking about step aside if it's the right offer. What happened to this Warrior and all this? And my team daren't tell me about step aside. But yet, like I just said there at the end of the interview, he's talking about, well, if it's right money. It looked to me like he didn't even know, you know. That's how it looked to me, like he didn't know. And with Coogan asking the questions, they were good questions, so I tip my hat to him. But as Hearn asked him to go out there, you don't know, do you? Because Hearn, he looks like he's not as close to Joshua as he thinks, if you know what I mean. He tried, hey, I've just got a phone with him, but that don't mean no. He might have spoken to you for 20 minutes, but he might not have really said anything to you, if you know what I mean, kind of thing. So I don't know, but personally, in my own opinion, I think he stays at Sky. I do. I think he stays at Sky. And I think that suits Eddie Hearn to still have one eye on Sky and one eye in with him, do you? In case this does his own thing. So I think he stays at Sky. But how are they going to play this now if he steps aside? Because his reputation's going to be tarnished now, isn't it, if he takes that? He's just going to look greedy.
If he takes it, Russ, yeah. I mean, the only way that he can come out with any credibility is that if he says, you know, this is how much they've offered me. And there's a clause in contract where Fury and Usyk don't have a rematch and the winner has got to fight me. They've given me 10, 20 million. Why would I not take that for nothing? Because I'm going to fight the winner. It's not ideal, but that's the only way he can come out of that with any little bit of credibility. He says, well, they're going to give me this much for nothing. It's another 6 months down the line. I'm going to have this fight in between, and I'm guaranteed to fight the winner. There's no rematch clause. Is that going to happen?
No, they'll freeze him out. You know what it's like. They'll freeze him out. And this is why I think Eddie might be a little bit worried, because he wanted to go. He activated it straight away, the rematch clause, just like he did the Ruiz fight. Eddie needs them belts for his big E. You know why they call him Big Ed? Because of his big ego. He's got a big ego, mate. And Eddie Hearn, without them belts, he's not in the mix. And if they take step aside, and let me tell you, he'll take it because he might only be £1 million. He'll take that £1 million and probably get it in cash. He'll take that money. And they're out of the equation then. What Eddie's going to have to do then is going to have to come out on all these platforms and he's going to have to say, well, it's not about the belts. Look what we've achieved. That's what's going to happen, mate. Sure as eggs are eggs. They're going to freeze him out. But does Tyson Fury check the Usyk fight, Richard?
I don't think he'd be able to resist it, Russ, because I think that you've got two guys there, and if there's ever a case for a good big and beating a good little, and it's that.
Do you think so?
I don't think. Yeah, I do. I think. Again, it's all with Tyson, and I think this is why Wilder fight was such a fantastic fight. You know, whether he had a bad camp or not, or it was disrupted, he wasn't the same Tyson Fury as he was in the second Wilder fight, was he?
No.
He wasn't the same guy. I know you've got some thoughts on him. Maybe he's just coming to that peak and he's just dipping over it. I'm not too sure.
I know.
But I think that also Usyk, although he did really well against Joshua, he's not getting any younger either. I think he's older than both of them, isn't it? 34.
Yeah, Usyk's. Yeah, he's older than them, but Usyk's no miles on clock. Look, Tyson Fury's got miles on clock. He's been dropped several times by various people, from cruiserweight to journeyman to Wilder. Miles on clock, food situation. Look how fat he is already now. Fat as a pig Michelin man. Couldn't even, that t-shirt he had on at that press the other day fitted where it touched. Miles on clock, not lived a life, inactivity. Usyk's not got that, has he? Lives the life, don't drink, don't party, always in shape, not inactive. I personally think Usyk and him is a very, very, very close fight. I rate Usyk, and everybody knows I tipped him to beat Joshua. I think he's that good. The reason I tipped him to beat Joshua is I watched an interview with Johnny Nelson, aka the company man, How you doing, Johnny? Johnny Nelson said he went over to Austria to Vladimir's camp and he saw Usyk. He had a headgear on and he was setting about Vladimir. And after he was saying to Adam Smith and people in the gym, who's that guy? Who's that guy? And they were all saying, oh, it's Usyk. He's going to Olympics. He's going to win gold. And when he took the headgear off, they were like, oh, it's Usyk. Southpaw, and he was setting about Vladimir. Now, the only thing Tyson's got that Vladimir ain't got is that Tyson understands southpaws because Peter used to have him at gym fighting as a southpaw and fighting as an orthodox, but fighting other southpaws. So he understands all that. He can do both, can't he, Tyson? Technically, very, very gifted, isn't he, for a big man? But I don't think he moves like he did when he beat Vladimir. I think that's gone out of his legs, me. What do you think, Richard?
I think that, I think that you can make an argument for that because of his performances. He hasn't showed that sort of performance. But I think that's more due to, I think you might know better than me, but I think the camp he had for the Vladimir fight with Peter was probably his best camp he's ever had. If he was ever going to put a performance on like that, it was going to be with Peter after a 10, 12 week camp over in, was he based over in Belgium or something like that, or Holland for most of the camp. So I think he hasn't probably had a camp like that, until he started his first comeback with boxercise, when he took all that weight off. And he weren't going to have legs like that after that weight drop in his first couple of fights back. So I think that it's all down to camps and how well he trains and also how seriously he takes his opponents. Because the impression I get is if he doesn't really rate him, even though he's an hard trainer, if he doesn't rate him or respect him enough, he doesn't put the same amount of work in. If he hasn't got any sort of fear, he doesn't put that work in. And I think that's why he probably put all the work in he did for the second Wilder fight. After that fight, he knew he had his number definitely. And again, he could afford to take some time off, and he had obviously trouble with his wife and baby, and which was genuine. And he didn't train for the fight for as long as he probably would have before, and that probably showed in his performance. So I don't quite think that if he puts a full training camp in, that his legs are shot. I think it's all down to how he prepares for it. But that's just my opinion. That's what I think.
When they were training in Holland, I'll tell you where they trained. Do you follow? Do you know who Rico Verhoeven is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the world champion for Glory, isn't he? He's a Dutch kid. He's like a superstar in Holland. Well, they train at Rico's camp. His trainer and Peter go back years. So, but he's from Holland. He's a nice guy. His trainer, Rico's trainer, and I always think the best of Tyson were when he'd been out there, the fittest. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion anyway. But maybe he just didn't feel like he needed to use his legs against a Wilder. But there's also the thing that had his legs gone and he felt like he needed to sit down on his punches and that, because he can crack, but he's always been a bit vulnerable around his chin. So Peter developed a style for him so that he didn't get dropped. And Peter only had him for eight fights anyway, because it were Huey, his late brother, God rest his soul, that had him for the original, I think it was 17 fights, or no, 16, because I think he had McCracken for his 10th fight, didn't he?
Yeah.
Robert McCracken. So, but I personally think that they brought Sugar Hill in because he didn't have it in his legs. That's what I think. But I could be wrong. He might come out in his next fight and just dance and go on back foot. But now that he's shown us what he can do, when he lets him go, why would he want to go? Why would he want to dance? He won't want to do it because he can take you out, can't he, if he wants?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to take the easy route if it's available. If he genuinely believes there's an easy route there, and that's the way to. And I do think that's how he beats Usyk. I think he gets in. He's busy for 10, 15 seconds and he moves back out of range and keeps him at range because he's just got that reach on him. And I think he could do that. And I think that Usyk gets frustrated because he can do everything, Usyk, as we know. but I think his natural instinct is to be a counter puncher, isn't it? He can come forward, but his natural fighting style is to counter punch. If you look at him against Bellew had some success in first 3 or 4 rounds, and then he just walked him onto punches for the rest of the fight, didn't he?
Yeah, I've seen an article years ago with Usyk and Lomachenko, and they have a thing going on, whereas they look in the first few rounds, they tend to look at the fighter, set loads of traps, and they computerize it in their heads. And that's where I think he went wrong against Lomachenko, because it got away from him, the fight, didn't it? You know, when he was having a look at him, kind of thing. But that's just my opinion on that. But I do rate Usyk, and I think it's a toss-up between him and Tyson, who's best heavyweight it will. But you maybe could shade it with Tyson, but we're talking that much, aren't we? If they fought each other, it'd be a 51% Tyson, 49 Usyk. It's that close, Richard.
Hey, Ross, after my recent records of predicting fights with you on text, I'm not going to predict any more fights. I've not been really successful in the last 4 or 5, have I? I thought Jose Burton were going to do him the other night, and that fell apart pretty quickly, didn't it?
You're a bit more successful than Mickey Fio. I keep taking his pennies off him. Boxing is the only thing I do bet on, but it's only now and again. It's only now and again. Yeah. Okay. But John Fury's press conference, what do you think to it?
Unbelievable. I mean, I think BT's put something out, sort of trying to distance themselves from that, that wording and that press conference. I'll tell you what was interesting. We're going back to Joshua a little bit, but also Joshua, and I don't know if you were referring to that press conference, gave John Fury a shout out.
Yeah, he did.
In that interview, which I found bizarre, because I thought, well, I hope we're not referring to that, because that was just cringeworthy, wasn't it?
He's softening Big John up, innit? Because down the line, he wants step aside money, so he's softening him up. He wants Tyson Fury to do his dirty work and get rid of Usyk. That's what he wants. He used Dylan White as a blocker, didn't he? Now, you know and I know. Dylan White's going to go nowhere near Usyk, is he? No. So who's the only guy in world boxing who's going to be able to deal with Usyk? Tyson Fury.
Tyson or Huey?
Tyson or Huey have the style to beat Usyk because they're both very similar. Huey maybe needs another year before he could tackle Usyk, but their styles are very similar. I think Tyson's got the devil in him a little bit more than Huey, hasn't he? But he's a bit more. But Tyson's the devil in him. He's only come in the last 2 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, and Huey, I know it's like an overused term, and I know I've heard Peter say it a lot of times in the last 12 months that he's grown into a man. He's got man's strengths now, but I kind of agree. It makes sense. He's still only a very young lad, isn't he? He's 26, 27.
Yeah.
When he first came on scene, and obviously he weren't coming up against roadman killers, but when he first came on scene, even as a 19-year-old, he looked heavy-handed when he first popped up.
Yeah.
Didn't he? I mean, I know he was fighting plumbers and all that sort of stuff, but he did look like, I can remember thinking, he's just naturally heavy-handed. These boxers that are like sort of wiry and the tall and the strong, they've got that leverage, maybe a little bit like Wilder in a way. These people, they don't look as though the bodybuilders, but they can kick like a mule, they can punch like a mule. He looked like that when he first come on scene to me, Huey. He
did. Well, Huey in amateurs, right? He was running through everybody. I think he was a world championship gold medalist or juniors and then he turned pro. My only gripe with Huey is I would have liked to have seen him go from age of 18 to 22 because he would have gone to the Olympics. I would have liked to have seen him get another 4 years up there. But if you pick up an injury or there's politics behind the scenes, you could miss out on that Olympic place. But I would have liked to have seen him do 4 more years. But it don't matter because he's still young. Huey could fight for another 10 years quite easily. Yeah. And he doesn't take a lot of punishment, does he?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
But he's a big lump. He's 6'6", isn't he?
6'6", 18 clem now. He's not 15.5 clem no more. He's 18 clem. Do you know what I mean? So, and he's going to shock a few people.
He could put another stone on, Russ, easy.
Listen, mate.
He's big enough.
Listen, don't forget to leave all your comments, your hateful comments, because I've bigged Huey up. I get loads of stick for bigging Huey up, right? And it ain't because Peter's me pal. I've seen him close up. I know what his mindset is. I've seen other people close up, and I've watched them. You know little things. Like I used to sit with Dennis in this after party. And Dennis would say, "Look at him over there going and getting another drink." And I go, "Yeah, it's a double that Dennis is having." Dennis would go, "We'll get Huey doing that. They don't even do after parties. But if they did, he'd be there with a glass of water, or he won't have a drink." They show it all the time, that championship mentality. See, and Dennis has had that. He'd have been around Clinton Woods. You wouldn't have seen Clinton carrying off like that. And it's the little things, you know, like you could have a certain boxer in your car. You put petrol in, you go to the petrol station, they might say, "Get me a Mars bar." Little things, and I'd look, and Dennis will go in back seat eating a Mars bar or whatever. It's them little things. Everything makes a difference. What you eat, how you conduct yourself. Champion's mentality. And Huey has a champion's mentality. He carries himself well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He does, yeah. He comes across as a bit shy. He's not going to be doing what Tyson does. He's not going to be doing what Wilder does. And even Usyk, you know, Usyk will have a bit of fun, won't he, with the camera and funny faces and all that sort of business. He just looks like his dad, doesn't he? No nonsense, no BS.
Listen, mate, he'll win a world title. He's plenty tight. And look at the fights that Huey can have down the line, because Joshua and Tyson, they'll be gone soon. Joe Joyce, they'll be gone. Usyk gone. The next batch, Huey, Yoka, Ergovic. Who else is there about?
I think from we're just thereabouts. I think you've probably nailed it with those three. You know, other guys are, you know, Dubois maybe. Dubois maybe. I mean, he's only 15 fights. I mean, I don't know how he's got an eliminator. I don't know how he's number one, to be honest, but that's a different story. Do I think he's got potential? Yeah, but 4 years down the line.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's that sort of time frame. But there you go. But I think those four probably are the next crop, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've covered Joshua and that. Does he take step aside, Richard? Yes or no?
No, I don't think his pride. I don't think his pride will let him. I think that interview. If he hadn't have had that interview, there would have been a chance. If he'd have kept it all quiet and just come out with it and spun it the right way. Now he's had that interview. I say no.
Well, I say yeah, because he's a greedy so and so. But we beg to differ, don't we?
Like I say, my track record of predictions is not good lately. Last few weeks, terrible.
Right. Okay. We've spoke about John Fury. We'll finish off. Well, sorry, we'll finish the John Fury little thing. Were he out of order talking like that? It was pure filth, wasn't it?
It was cringeworthy. I mean, you just got to look. You just got to look at. I'm not laughing because of what he said. I'm laughing because of Tyson and Tommy's reactions. Yeah. It was like watching. I don't know if you ever caught the Prince Andrew interview when he did the interview, and it were all about sort of what were happening with those girls and stuff like that. And you were watching it, and you were just thinking, "This is car crash TV." Somebody get hold of him and pull him out of that chair and stop him from digging an hole.
You could see Frank Warren sat in his office like that, wasn't he? His bum was squeaking, wasn't it?
What's he going to say next? What's he going to say next? And you know, that's why I'm laughing, because Tommy's face and Tyson's face. Have you ever seen Tyson Fury look embarrassed?
No, because he's got more front than Brighton Pier, hasn't he?
And he looked deeply embarrassed, innit, at that press conference. Yeah. And I think I text you. I can't remember. I think I might text you and Ken at the time before BT came out and sort of distanced themselves. And what I find really, really strange is, you know, I won't profess to know a lot about the travelling community, but we know, like everybody else, they like a pound. And if somebody's giving you free money, you know, to just, you know, just come and just give your opinion, whether it's a valid opinion or not, but pay you a lot of money, probably hundreds of thousands of pounds or several £1,000s for each appearance or every time you've been interviewed. And no matter what your feelings are and how you want to say what you want to say inside, don't you just bite your lip now and again because that money might get taken away? I don't get it.
Well, thing is, you see, right, they're dealing with his son, and it's a little bit different when the, you know, like, look, I've had this argument with various people, and look, do you know, if you go up to Ingleton, right, say for instance, I take my 9-year-old Reggie, so Reggie, you're going to be a boxer. He won't want to do it because he can't do it. But if I take him up there, they'll say, no dads in gym. You're going to make Wales gym. No dads in gym. Dads in boxing are a nightmare, right? They're a nightmare to deal with. So you've got John Fury. He's a BT pundit. He's at a press conference on BT Sport. And they're having, and this guy's fight who's getting his son, whatever, X amount of millions of pounds, whatever. They're having a press conference, and the guy's on a TV screen. And look how John Fury behaved. How would he react if they're together at a presser? With fisticuffs, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So personally, I thought it would have been. Look, I ain't got a problem with him going back and forth and saying he can't miss your big chin because he's got a big desperate damn chin on him, hasn't he, that geezer?
Yeah.
But that geezer's also putting millions into boxing. He's got big people behind him and all that. He's paying boxers on time and he's paying them more money than Bob Arum, right? So he's going to be a big noise in boxing. And for John to carry off like that, I don't mind him carrying off with chin comments and he'll knock you out and all this. But saying that he's good. What did he say? He's going to do your missus. What Tommy's
going to do your missus, bend her over and do her like a dog. Something like that.
While you're watching and you haven't got a dick, you've got a gash, and you can suck my dick. It's a whopper. So John Fury's packing a whopper apparently. So why he had to say that? It went into the gutter. It went into the gutter. For my opinion, who am I to say? Oh, anyway, but that's just my opinion. Will BT Sport have him on again live, yes or no?
No.
What will they do? Put him back in his box?
Yes.
Pay his contract up?
He's probably got something in his contract that if he does something like that, they don't have to pay him. You know, these guys don't mess about, do they? So whatever contract he's got, it'll be something in there, you know, use expletive language, do anything that's racist, do anything that's sexist, and we can just sack you on the spot, no notice, no payment. I'd imagine that's what his contract's like. So for me, they've got to distance themselves, haven't they? How can they go back on that? So I don't think they'll have him on again.
No.
Unless he comes on and makes some sort of apology. And is he going to do that, Russ?
No, he's not that type of guy, is he? But then again, last week he were not doing an interview and he wanted to heal the world. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. Every time he does something wrong, he comes out and he goes to a kid's gym and takes them up pads, doesn't it, to sort of diffuse it all, didn't it? Or he does a fun run for charity. I don't know, John, do an half a marathon because he does half a marathons every morning, doesn't he? He runs an hour every morning. So why don't you do an hour run, John, for charity?
Only time I do a marathon run, mate, is if I'm chasing an ice cream van down the road.
Or, do you know what he could do, Richard? An 140-kilo bench press marathon, 8 reps every 1 hour.
Yeah, it's pretty good going, that. Let me tell you from experience, that's pretty good going.
Right, let's move on then from the adventures of JF to Dennis has got a world champion, Jack Massey, IBO, cruiserweight, in Bolton Friday night. Dennis has come out, he's done an interview, we've got it here, and he's saying if they want Canelo, and if Terence Crawford wants to step up, they'll have him as well. But Terence Crawford's not going to go from 147 to 200, is he? So that's got to be value of the week, that, hasn't it? But the reason Dennis has said that is because he's got nobody at the side of him that will say, Dennis, don't say that. Because if I said to Dennis, now Dennis who's middleweight champion of Great Britain, he won't have a Scooby-Doo. So he shot his Senate foot with that. But Jack Massey, do you think they'll fight Canelo? Yes or no?
No.
No. So why do you think Dennis has come out with that? Is he paying lip service to people who are backing him?
I think probably, and I think also he's got to at least, you know, dangle a fish. He knows that Canelo's looking for a cruiserweight title. Canelo's not come out and said, you know, I want Lawrence Okoli. He's come out and said, I want Makabu. For what reason? Because our world champions, apart from Massey, exactly right. So I think that for me, he's got to stick a carrot out there. I don't think Canelo's bothered it's an IBO belt. I don't think that'd bother him. I think because he'd go down the record books as moving up and winning our world championship at that weight. So I think he's at least got to dangle a carrot, and he knows that even if he got a 10% cut, it's probably going to be Dennis's biggest fight in the last 5, 6, 7 years, isn't it? 10 years.
Jamie McDonald, the biggest fight for Dennis since Jamie McDonald.
No. There you go then. So he's at least got like, you know, dangle put the fishing rod in and hope that Canelo bites, and Canelo looks at that fight and he looks at Massey's past record. And Massey's not a bad fighter, is he? He's British level.
Yeah.
British level.
They didn't call Riak Porte out, did they?
No.
They didn't call Okoli out, called Canelo. No.
Brady didn't call him out. You know, they're not going to call him out, are they? They're going to call Makabu. And even though Makabu can hit and he's powerful, he's getting a bit long in tooth. I don't know how old he is now, but he's got to be 35, hasn't he?
Yeah. Oh.
He looks 35.
He's not very tall for a cruiser, is he?
No, he's not. No. So I think, you know, if he sees that fight last night, Canelo, you know, I could see Canelo coming in, you know, potentially, you know, nibbling at that fish, picking what he sees as an easy win up, and then fighting Makabu for his belt and actually becoming, you know, a unified champion.
Yeah. And then we had that show last night, the Dennis's, that never happened. They cancelled it at last minute. Cancelled it with a few hours ago. So it's the first time it's been done in years, that, you know.
Yeah, I saw it on since Star, and it's on a couple of Google boxing links. But it said weather. I was in Sheffield last night. I went for a meal in Sheffield to a nice place, but that's beside the point. And it was cold, but it didn't stop me going for a meal. So I don't know why they had to cancel a boxing event in Pons Forge.
Were there any snow, Richard?
No snow. Probably no tickets either.
Well, they're saying they've not done 200 tickets. That's the word.
And what's the old Pons Forge? Couple of thousand, 1,500, couple of thousand.
2,500, 1,500 to shut it off. So right. Dennis's cut-off point will be 500 on that. Yeah. If you're not done 500, he'll be on at the fighters. But Monday a fight week, right? What happens there? They say how many tickets you done, how many tickets you done, how many tickets you done. The 7 fighters on the show. Now, if you look on the box rate, none of them 7 are ticket sellers, right? So they've had problems from day one. So why make the fight? Why make it? Why make them fights if they're not ticket sellers? With Pons Ford, £7,000 Pons Ford is to hire. It's not cheap. So why make it? Then you've got security, you've got border control, you've got ambulance, doctors, ringside physicians, all that kind of carry on. Everybody has got the noses in the trough. So before you start, you're down 30 before you start. And then you've got your ticket sales now. If they've done 200 tickets, which I've heard, might be wrong, allegedly. If they've done 200 tickets and they're not averaging 40 quid, they're not averaging them. Let's say 80 quid, 80 quid. What's that? 32 grand.
Yeah.
And then you've got away. You've got away. So you've got away fighters to pay. 7 fighters on there away. What's that? 14 grand. So you're 44 grand down. So if you've run that in tickets and you haven't got much sponsorship, you're losing on show because you still got your fighters to pay. So a business decision, yeah. A bit late in the day, yeah. But what's gone on leading up to it? Who's having a word with these fighters? How many tickets have you done? You should have been on at him every day. Right, you're off at show, you're off at show. But it would look bad putting 3 fights on the show, wouldn't it? Trying to save money, because you're still going to lose money on the night. So do I applaud the decision to pull it? No, because when you get involved in this game, you've got to roll the dice. But I can see why he's done it, because he would have lost money on the show the night before, but he gained a world champion. You see where I'm coming from? Because Dennis will like to roll the dice, and he does know what he's on with business at times. I don't know if he does at boxing at times, but if they're going after Canelo, they're rolling the dice big time, but they are pissing in the wind if they think he's going to bite with an IBO. They're going to have to go get another belt and then go to Canelo. But point I want to make is, Steve Wood had a show 34 mile away last night. His show wasn't pulled. And there were 8 other amateur shows within 30 mile. They weren't pulled. So why were Dennis's show pulled? I'll tell you why. Ticket money. Dennis, if I'm wrong, pick up the phone or come here, you know where I am. And we'll have you on here. And you can tell us why you pulled the show. Because down the line, they're going to have problems now. Once you're pulling shows and fighters have made weight, right? And people have travelled and sold tickets. They've now got to refund everybody. They'll have had plans for what they were doing with that money for Christmas. Because them kids are not going to get out again this year. What you're going to have now is that so many of them last night are not going to want to work with him again. And if, for instance, there is a disaster down the line again and a show has to be pulled, that might only be 2 shows that he's pulled in a long time, but he'll be forever known as the guy who pulls shows. And then you've got problems. So all this good work that he's done, because he has put a lot of shows on, put 16 shows on. 15, he's got 1 more next month. He's put a lot of effort in and a lot of money's gone into it. But he's done all that with that last night. Personally, the money them lot have got, they should have put that on last night and took a hit, kept everybody happy, and said, we'll get it back down the line. But that'll hurt them down the line. I think people can say, oh, it's sour grapes, you don't work with him. No, I left. Didn't want to work with him. Well, you know, I'm better financially and in a better place. But I want him to do well, don't I? But I don't want him to go down that route of being the guy that pulls shows, because when other people used to pull shows, they used to piss the pants up there, but the boot's on their foot now, isn't it? They've pulled the show on the day. Do you know what I mean? What about all them kids that wanted to fight? You got 14 guys there, all going to want paying. 14 managers, 14 trainers, 14 sets of families. They're all going to be pissed off, aren't they? That's how I look. I don't know. What do you think, Richard?
Yeah, on pulling a show's bad anyway. Using that excuse on bad weather. I mean, is he insured? Is there a clause in there saying if you can't put it on due to bad weather, you know, you're going to get your money back? I don't know, but
no, not being
you
sure.
You said the cut-off point's 500 tickets.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Why don't they know when they put that card together, right? They should have a budget and say, like you say, what's our break even? Might be 500 tickets, might be 600, might be 400. I don't know. That's our break even. We're going to sell 500 tickets at this amount to get this much revenue to break even.
Yeah.
What is the likelihood with this card that we're putting on, with the track record of the fighters, with the track record of Sheffield, with our experience, knowing what we know, what's our likelihood of selling those 500 tickets? Like you say, if they say, well, yeah, we should be able to do it for these reasons, like you say, roll the dice. But I looked at that card a month ago. I've been looking forward, since COVID's hit and all that sort of stuff, I've been looking forward. I haven't been to a show yet since. I haven't. But I've been looking forward to getting back to boxing shows. I didn't want to go and watch that show, Russ.
No.
There was nobody on that card that really appealed to me. You know, if it had been on Freeview on, you know, ITV and it's just switched over and it had been on, I'd have probably been glued to it for an hour. I don't know, probably. But I didn't want to go and see that fight. So why didn't they know they were only going to do 200 tickets?
I don't know, mate, but this is how I look at it, right? You've got to keep on top of your fighters with 2 or 3 weeks to go. You've got to say, how many tickets are you doing? Well, I've only done this much. Well, look, you're a home fighter. If that's all you've done, say 20 tickets or something, I'm going to have to pull you off the show. Now, I've seen that happen before. A few years ago, Tommy Frank fought up there. I forgot the date, but Michael Gomez Jr. got beat on points up there. There were 3 fights on that night. And SYPS here, they came to that was their first boxing show. They came to. These are horse racing people, these. And at the after party, Dennis said, "What do you think?" And Kevin goes, "Look, if you want me to get involved with boxing, you're gonna have to put something on a bit better than this." Now, I was stood there at the time and I thought, "Oh, Jesus," because I'm like in between, aren't I? No, because they both got big egos, aren't they? He's horse racing, Dennis is boxing and football, isn't it? I'm like, "Oh, you know, Kev, that was well said, wasn't it?" And Kev's like, "Well, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If I'm going to put money into boxing, it's got to be something a bit better than Tommy Frank." Do you know what I mean? And 3 fights on, but what Dennis had done, he'd had to pull people off the show because they're not done no tickets. So you got 3 fights on. So I felt for him that night. I was like, I really felt for Dennis that night. But somebody needs to be on at these fighters. How many tickets? You know, Steffi Bull? Well, you know, I don't like him. He don't like me. We're not going to get on. He did a bad trick to me. And that's just how it goes. But Steffi Bull would be on every single day. How many tickets you done? How many tickets you done? How many tickets you done? He's boxing in this area. He would have been on at him. And he would have been saying, "Look, you've got to do more." He would have been juggling it and trying to think of ways to get a profit out of the show or not to lose money. Whereas Dennis, where were he the night before? He'd have been pissed up in Bolton, wouldn't he? Because he had a world champion. Your eye's not on the ball, but leading up to that, you've got to be on at them kids. How many tickets you done? And this is why I don't think there should be ticket deals. The kids should all be on a set wage. Years ago, Mickey Duff didn't do things like that. You know what you were getting before you started your camp. Now, the away fighters on the right-hand side on the card, they don't have to worry about it. You know, like people like Harry Matthews, who's lost 10 on trot. You know what I mean? And been out of action 2 years, I think. They don't have to do tickets because they're away fighters, so they know what they're getting, don't they? But the home fighters, everything's on them. So somebody should have been on it and how many tickets should have blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? Sometimes fighters are not so truthful when you ask that question. They might say, "Yeah, well, I'm waiting on so-and-so and so-and-so. They're having 10 tickets. Waiting on them's no good. Tomorrow never comes. How many have you done now?" If I rung them, I say, "How many have you done now?" That's what I'd say to them. "Oh, well, I've done this much, but I'm waiting." I said, "Look, I don't give a fuck about who you're waiting on. What have you got in pot?" You know what I mean? Somebody should have been doing that, and obviously they pulled the hand. But don't give me any fucking bullshit about for safety. We've pulled it because of safety for fans and weather and all that. Dennis, don't give us bullshit like that. Pick up the phone, come on here, and let's put it right. If you don't want to come here, come on Zoom, but don't be a coward. All right, and don't bullshit boxing fans about weather and shite like that. There ain't a snowflake in sight. So I'm disappointed. I'm not saying that people should go out and cancel the Fight Zone subscriptions because they shouldn't. But disappointing, and considering he had a barnstormer in Bolton night before. Do you know what I mean? So you've got 2 sides at coin. You had a barnstormer and got a world champion. And then you've got the day after they cancelled it. But like I said, Steve Wood didn't cancel his show 30 mile away, 34 mile away. No, and I've heard Steve lost on the show. But he'll have had his hand in his pocket and invested in his fighters, won't he? I don't know, mate. It's an hard one, isn't it? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Hey, Russ, forget about just boxing shows, mate. They're indoor events. Name another sporting event that got cancelled yesterday or last night?
None.
I don't know of any.
Not in the country, none. Football events didn't get cancelled. Rugby didn't get cancelled. No other boxing event in the country were cancelled. None. None.
Yeah, and my meal wasn't cancelled. I managed to find my way to Sheffield last night, so
yeah. Where did you
there
go,
was no
Richard?
issue.
Where did you go?
We went to a place called Oyster. Really nice food, mate. You'll enjoy it. I'll send you details.
What did you have?
It's like Asian mixed Asian fusion food. It's like Chinese, Japanese, all the best bits of each country. You've got a big choice, and it's just really, really nice. We enjoyed it.
Well, give me an address and I'll bring Mick Hennessy.
Yeah. It wasn't a 790. It wasn't a buffet 795 all you can eat. Otherwise, they want to let me in if that had been the case, wouldn't they?
No.
They said, "You can come in, love. He's got to stay."
Did your lass like it? Yeah.
Yeah, she enjoyed it, mate. We were with some friends, and he drove. So even the missus was on the old champagne last night, so that was good.
Brilliant. We'll finish off on this, Richard. What do you think is going to happen with Joe Joyce? Do you think he's being avoided?
Yeah.
Think he's been parked up?
I think he's been parked up. I think all of those things. I think he's been parked up. I think he's been avoided, and I also think he's been badly managed.
Yeah. Do you?
I do. Yeah, I do. This guy has been in top 5 for the last 3 or 4 years. We know that other fighters have been struggling to. Dillian White's obviously the most obvious one. We look how long he's been parked up with WBC, but we all know Joe Joyce hasn't got a friendly style, but nobody wants to fight him, do they? Because he's heavy-handed. You can't knock him down with a dump truck. Yeah, I don't hear any stories. I don't hear stories of people saying, "Oh, yeah, Joe Joyce has been put down in sparring." You might do. I don't know.
No, never heard anything like that.
You can't knock that bloke down with a dump truck. Do I personally like him as a person? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think he's laid back. He's a genuine bloke. Everybody in boxing seems to like him. Nobody's got a bad word to say about him. But he's not got a friendly style, has he? Because he's got the old George Foreman, Frankenstein, plodding. I can just see Muhammad Ali now doing the impression of George Foreman. It's that lumbering forward, but nobody can get out of the way of it. It looks slower than what it is. I think I've heard Peter say that before. It's deceiving in regards to how fast he actually. But on TV, it looks like you're shouting at the opponent saying, "How can you not get out of the way of them?" But they can't, can they? Because he just keeps coming forward.
Well, do you know what I think is?
I like him.
I think what it is, once he hits them, they're stunned for that other second, and then you're stunned and you go, but you're that stunned, the other one's going to hit you anyway because you can't shake it off and you don't see it coming. I think he's fantastic. And another thing, if Yoka there's talking that he might be losing his gold medal, isn't there? There's something going on. If he loses that gold medal over a drug test and they get Joe Joyce, what a great story Joe Joyce is. But he can feel aggrieved, can't he, down the line then?
Yeah.
And I think that if he gets that gold medal, what has he won? British Commonwealth Europe. Is he what a European? He won a British Commonwealth European. He's number one ranked. Is he number 1 with WBO?
Number 1 with WBO, and I think he's number 2 with WBA. But if we're wrong, Kent will let us know, won't he? But he's number 1. He's number 1 with one, and he's number 2 with the other. And he's been avoided like never no more, hasn't he? But I also think he's been badly managed.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I don't rate Sam Jones. I don't rate him at all.
Sam Jones, pick up the phone. Let's have you on here, and you can explain to hardcore boxing fans why Joe Joyce never seems to be mixed for a big fight.
You just reminded me by saying that. Didn't Sam Jones go on Twitter saying that he would come on this show?
Yeah, Sam Jones, you haven't got the nuts to come on here. Because if you do come on here, I'm going to have some questions from Rico, Terry, and Kent and Richard here. So Sam Jones, grow a pair instead of having balls the size of peas. Come on here.
Has he been on Terry's show?
No, Terry's has a podcast, isn't it? He just talks into a microphone like me, into this here. But no, he hasn't, I don't think. But Sam Jones is welcome on it. Look, nobody can say he's not enthusiastic, but look, he's still a bit wet behind ears, isn't he? In my opinion, I think Sam Jones might be one for the future, a manager or even a promoter. He talks a good game, but let's have it right. He's trying to be mates with Bricktop and Eddie Hills, and you can't do that. You can't conform to 2 paymasters, because what happens is your fighter doesn't end up getting any action, does he?
Yeah, look, we all know business is built on relationships, but he is a hula hooper. That's my view. So that's my view. He's trying to be everybody's mate, and yeah, it's good to have relationships in business. Nobody wants to be disliked, but he's had him parked up. At least Dillian, you know, it took 3.5 years, but at least Dillian did the right thing in the end and went down the legal route, which is got some movement, hasn't it? At least it's got some movement. Now, I think that I do think that he should be doing that with our mate as well. I really do. So that's how I think. Joe Joyce is avoided. He's heavy-handed. Nobody wants to be on the other end of that punch. They can't knock him down with a dump truck. Is it a nice style to watch? No, but it's not called nice style, is it? It's called fighting. It's called boxing.
Yeah,
it's all about the W, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about a W. And do you know what, Joe Joyce? Does he beat Dylan White?
Yeah.
Right. Does he beat Tyson Fury?
No, listen. I'm a massive as a person. I've got a slightly different view, but as a boxing fan, you're not going to talk me out of Tyson Fury not being miles above everybody else. I think he's there for as long as he wants to be. Yeah. That's my view.
Yeah. And then you've got Usyk. Does Joe Joyce beat him?
No, I think it's a bit of a repeat. I think, mate. I'm afraid. I think Usyk does the same as he did in WSB.
Yeah. Does he beat Ergovic?
Yeah.
Does he beat? There ain't really much to go at. Does he beat Huey?
I think Peter's too smart. I think Huey beats him. I think Peter imposes a game plan, and if Huey sticks to it, he boxes him. He boxes it off. He keeps away from. Doesn't engage with him too often. Gets him busy. Scores out. If he can execute that game plan, he beats him. If he gets caught a couple of times, it's good night Vienna. Although Huey's got a great chin as well, hasn't he?
Fantastic. Never been down as a pro.
Yeah, he's got a good chin as well. But I think Huey does him if he executes his dad's game plan perfectly.
You rate Huey then, don't you?
Well, I got high hopes of him. You know, like I say, when he first came on scene, I know he was knocking plumbers out and he was coming through the normal route. Nobody's going to put somebody in that's too difficult for him on his way up. But he definitely looked like the real deal. You know, first 20 fights, he was heavy-handed. He was still a young lad, and I thought this guy's he's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. He had some health problems. We all know about that. He's been stalled a couple of times. Did he get a bad decision against Parker? Yeah. Absolutely. He was robbed.
Yeah.
You know, I agreed with McKenna's reaction. I was reacting the same way. It was a daylight run. Hey, let me ask you a question. Has anybody had more lucky decisions than Joseph Parker?
No.
Ruiz,
Huey, Chisora.
Yeah, Chisora, you could argue with 60-40. You could argue he won that fight. But he's been fortunate. He's never had a bad decision, has he?
Do you know why he gets all these opportunities? Because he's got New Zealand pay-per-view on him behind him.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Because he hasn't got a great style. And I'm not casting any aspersions on him as well. He might look in better shape when he's gone through this Tyson Fury training camp. I don't know. But he doesn't look the same fighter, body shape-wise, as he did when he first came on scene. He doesn't look like he's got the same shape. Now, that might just be because he's gotten older, he's matured or whatever, but he looked in much better shape, 4 years ago for me, when he were the world champion.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that is, but he doesn't look as though he carries the same strength, the same power. He don't look like he's got the same stamina in the ring. Now, age might be catching up with him, but he doesn't look like the same guy to me.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
that's just my opinion.
Okie dokie. Well, we've had a good hour, Richard.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, mate. It's just good to see you looking a lot better, pal. It really is.
I was going to do it in bed, but I just wanted to get out. Sometimes you just got to take the ball by the horns, don't you?
Yeah, you have, mate. Yeah. No, you're looking a lot better, mate. It's good to see.
Thank you. I ain't going head like a skull now.
No. Still ugly, but he just doesn't look like a skull.
Thanks very much, Richard. Well, listen, you take care. Have a great day. And I'll leave you to get ready to go out for lunch.
All right, mate. You have a good day, mate. Good seeing you.
Cheers, mate. God bless.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that were Richard from Rotherham, a nice guy. I think years ago he was in strongman events. So that's good, isn't it? So that's about it. To say this is a 4K camera. I sit back like that, it goes a bit blurry. I might have to go a bit forward. Well, that's about it, really. Sunday morning. So normally, what I'd be doing, this was years ago, I'd be going out for my News at World. I'd be going out for my News at World down to office in prison. I've been waiting all night. Oh, I've got a News at World in the morning. Wait, when I get that, I can spend all day reading every page. We don't have that problem now, my good boy. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. But I would like to hear points of view on Dennis Pulliner's show, Joe Joyce, is he being parked up? Will Joshua's arse fall out and will he fill his nappy, and Swerve Usyk for pound notes? I say he will. These people are money motivated. All right. It's about money. It's not about belts and principle and morals and all that. It's about money. One day they say, yeah, we're going to fight in England all the time because I love you, the fans. Next thing they go and offer, they're in New York, then Saudi. They don't care for fans. They care for money. All right. Peace out. Big shout out to my mate Frank in Bury. All right. So that's about it. 10:15. I am out of Dodge.